Thank you very much, and I have to say that I'm the one honored to be here today. You can see the two institutions ganging up to give me a platform to hear my own voice. And we entrepreneurs like sometimes to hear our own voice. But I'm delighted to be here because I think also it might be a force for good. I consider myself an entrepreneur, although I'm not self-made, and it's best to get this admission out of the way early. I cheated because I had a rich father. And I went to him and asked for money, and he was generous enough and kind enough to finance my first business at the age of 25, which was in the shipping business, like my father. The thing about growing older, obviously, and having achieved some of your objectives in business, is that you start feeling guilty, if I can use that expression. You start feeling you have a debt to repay to society. And I know some people like to use less emotive words, but I don't have a problem with it. I think we do have an obligation to give back something to society. At the end of the day, it's the people who bought our products and services and sort of created the financial success. So some of it has to go back. Now, there are different ways of giving back, and that's where I'm going to express my views and my thoughts, put some questions to you, if you like, and then open it up for debate, because there is no right and wrong when it comes to giving back. For example, I started my first serious recurring, if you like, project on philanthropy was going back to my alma mater, the university I graduated from. So I'm a graduate of the London School of Economics, and I thought if I give scholarships to the London School of Economics, then I'll help needier students than me to go and get a good degree and then go and change the world. Institutions like the London School of Economics have this amazing ability to manufacture, world leaders as well. I mean, 60 heads of states have been there. So education became one of my first pillars, if you like, in my giving back. I went to the City University, which is where I got my master's degree. So now there are, 20 graduates every year that go through this system and become the alumni, if you like, of my program. These people will go and make a difference to their businesses, to their countries, their families. Some of them work for Goldman Sachs already, which a few years ago would have been impressive. Or a few weeks ago would have been more impressive than now. I think a couple have joined HSBC. It's excellent. But, some of them will become politicians. Some of them, really want to go back to their country and become finance ministers. So it's an amazing mix of people. And I call that the exponential effect. The 5,000 or 10,000 a year to a student is one thing. The fact that that person can go and create exponential change, I think, is more important. It's interesting that you're involved in education, for example, which I assume is the same exponential effect you're looking for. The second area I like to get involved is entrepreneurship, because I think we should stick to what we think we're good at, what we enjoy doing, what would bring us closer to people that we relate to. I think how much impact a business can have on the world. We're really talking about exponential effect. If you succeed in making a startup make it through the difficult period and then go and change the world, or change their industry, or change their country, or change their sector, or even their town, it doesn't have to be global, then your 50,000 went a lot further. And it's also easier because I relate to these people. So, I started awards. The first one in the UK is the one we're hosting together next month and later in the year, where it's about disabled entrepreneurs. The corresponding charity there is Leonard Cheshire, well known from the homes. And the idea is that if you help a disabled person who started a business with an award that gives them recognition, it gives them cash flow as well, which helps, and they succeed and go through that difficult period of 3 to 5 years, then you build a sustainable business. My first winner 3 years ago was a blind tour operator, a guy who lost his sight and decided that the best way to make money is to set up a tour operation business that combines blind and sighted people going on holiday together, and the one subsidizing the other. And again, it might be only someone who's blind who can actually think of something like that and make it happen. The second one was a profoundly deaf person that set up a translation website via webcam so from sign language to English. And the recent winner, the most recent one, third one in line now, he's an amputee. He lost his arm in a motorcycling accident, and then had this idea. I think the way it went is he got a job as an extra in the movie Saving Private Ryan. Do you remember Saving Private Ryan with Tom Hanks? They needed many extras who were amputees, without arms, to play the soldiers. So he got the job, got some money, and then started looking around and said there is demand for this thing. So he now runs an agency that places amputees in films in Hollywood. And this guy is doing very well, and with my support, I think he's a speaker at the event on the 12th of May. He's become an inspirational speaker because it's so difficult actually to start a business from these circumstances and survive. And the first year's guy is still in business, because that's the other embarrassing thing with supporting entrepreneurs. They may sort of go out of business, but they seem to have done well. In Greece, which is my birthplace, I set up an award for young entrepreneurs, under 40, because it's a smaller country, less entrepreneurial, so you need something more generic. And in Cyprus, which is the country of origin of my parents, there's a special situation. It's a bit like Nicosia, the capital, is like a cross between Berlin, before the wall came down, and Jerusalem. It's a very difficult situation because it's still divided, but there are some crossings now. But the problem is there are two cultures and two religions and two languages on the island. So the social interaction is not the same as it was in Berlin when they opened the wall. They were similar, and therefore they very quickly got together again. In Cyprus, you go when the boundary is there, you can cross, but very few people do. And of course, when that boundary has been there 35 years, you have a whole generation of people who think the other side, eat babies for breakfast, basically. And that works both ways. So I decided the best way to break down that barrier is to help them do business with each other. So I give £50,000 per joint venture, per team that involves one Greek Cypriot and one Turkish Cypriot doing business together. And again, it's what you expect. The first winners, we're in the second year now, are people who do the businesses that are prevalent on the island. Agriculture, building materials, a car rental firm. It's never occurred to me that if you're in car rental, you couldn't actually cross the border, because as soon as you did, the insurance was invalidated. So, you had to have a joint venture with someone on the other side to pick it up. So it's, simple, small ideas like that I think can help the two communities get closer together. And I'll end this speech part with a question opening it up for debate. In other words, it's food for thought. I don't know which is right and which is wrong. As your name suggests, you focus on Africa, which is probably the poorest continent. The neediest people on the planet probably live there. What I described as my philanthropic activity started closer to home. Started in my alma mater, in my university, which, although not every student at the LSE has a rich Greek shipowner as a father, they're not exactly as needy as the kids in Africa that you're supporting. So do you go trying to find the neediest and help them, which might be far away in another continent, away from home? Or do you stay closer to home? Do you help the brightest, the most competent, the most intelligent, able, disabled able, if you know what I mean? Or do you go actually for someone that has such a disability that cannot even get out of bed, for example? So all of these are moral issues which I don't know the answers. I don't think there's a right and a wrong. The good thing about philanthropy is there are many ways of doing it. I mean, I stand up and speak about it because I like to hear my own voice, as I admitted already. There are people who just write very discreetly a check and hand the check to a charity and never talk about it again. I think it's less satisfying, at least for my personality, but I'm sure you're welcoming those donations as well. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I started a relationship by just writing a check during an event, during a gala dinner, so you have to start somewhere. I still have the African hobby horse, actually, in my office.